Hello lovers, welcome to the Butterfly Effect podcast hosted by myself, Lauren Amy. This is for those who are ready to take up space, who are living a soft life loudly and are ready to savor the sweetness in each moment. Here we're going to embrace transformation, the beauty of the in-between and the magic of becoming. So pull up a seat and listen in because life is delicious and it's about goddamn time we eat it up. Da, 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 da. Hello, my stunners. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Happy Wellness Wednesday. How are we all feeling? Another week has rolled around thick and fast, and I'm thinking I need to rename this podcast just like the Wednesday Waffle, because I feel like this is going to be another like waffly one where I don't know don't know the direction it's going to take me in, but I'm bringing you all along for the ride. But I hope everyone's doing well. Hope you've woke up on this Wednesday feeling fresh, feeling rejuvenated, ready for another day. If you're feeling sluggish, maybe this is the thing that's going to pick you up. We're all on this messy, beautiful, chaotic ride together, so let's buckle on up, Hans. Let's get into it. But yeah, how are you all feeling? I am coming off a very busy weekend, lovely weekend, delightful weekend, but just busy, and I feel like I'm using this podcast episode as a way in which to just land again. So this weekend I was dog sitting for Danny. I was looking after good old Chipster. He was very well behaved, which was good, thank goodness. And we also had the return of the cacao ceremony. So it's our first cacao ceremony of the season. We host them October through to about May, and they take a pause over the summer because summer, people are out and about, people may be holidaying, people don't often want to get cozy with cacao. It's not really the time for it. Anyway, we had the first cacao ceremony of the season, and it was lovely. You know what I love about these ceremonies is when people come along to them for the first time, and obviously I'm helping to facilitate this, right? I'm like co-host, and I just really want everyone to have a lovely experience. And I think more so with cacao, just because it is, not many people are familiar with it, right? Not many people know what to expect. I mean, I had no idea what to expect. And yeah, I just want people to have a good experience. The first few cacao ceremonies I had, I think it must have been like the second or third one I was told that my life was about to pretty much completely go up in flames, and it did. And I think if that had happened in my first ceremony, I would have probably felt quite overwhelmed and don't know whether I would have returned back to it. So yeah, I just want everyone to have a nice, loving, wholesome experience, and I'm so pleased that everyone did. Everyone came with their own intentions, whether it was just to see what it's about, or maybe needing that little bit more encouragement to reach for their particular dreams. There was a lot of theme about needing some direction. I genuinely didn't know what I was going to share at the beginning of this weekend ceremony. I was like, there's so many things I could ask for insight about. The thing I felt most drawn to was actually asking for some direction. And I mentioned that, my birthday's coming up, and I haven't actually mentioned that. I've not really mentioned that to anyone, really. This birthday feels a bit weird, feels a bit strange. I am now looking forward to it more than I was. I was feeling quite daunted by the prospect of turning 31. Because, when you turn 30, it's like, whether you make it a big deal or not, I think when you turn 30, for some weird reason, you actually feel like the youngest you've ever been. I've spoken to a few people about this. Like, it's almost like you see the world in a different way, in a different perspective. You're more sure of yourself. You're more certain of the things you like and the things you don't like. Therefore, you see the world with this, again, like, new kind of playfulness, this new kind of curiosity. And it definitely felt like for me in being 30, I was like, God, it feels like I'm 19 again, and I'm experiencing the adult world for the first time. And when you're 28, 29, you're kind of gearing up for 30, and you're I don't know, trying to get everything sorted, everything in line, you're trying to figure your life out. And then you reach 30 and you're like, no one knows what they're doing. So you might as well have fun with it, you know what I mean? So yeah, turning 30 for me was really empowering. And obviously I celebrated it out in Milan. That was beautiful as well. That was the best thing I could have done. And now I'm approaching 31 because I feel like turning 30 was such like a beautiful, empowering thing, and I was excited for it. I felt good about it. Turning 31 almost just means like I'm just in my 30s now. It just suddenly feels like a bit less exciting. And I've had a few thoughts where, you know, I had it mentioned to me that to not expect much for my birthday. And I mean, for whatever reason, cool. I mean, I wouldn't really expect much anyway because, you know, it's just me here. I'm not going to put pressure on my friends to make my birthday a big deal because they've all got their own priorities and their own things going on. Same with my family. They've got their own things going on. So I wouldn't expect much for my birthday anyway. But that doesn't make that any less sticky to hear. You know what I mean? So in hearing that, I was kind of like, it just kind of re-emphasised that this birthday is just another day. But I love birthdays. I love celebrating my birthday, right? And it really hit home. I was like, you know what? The only person that can make this special for me is me. So, yeah, I'm turning 31 in, well, just under 2 weeks' time. Wow. And I'm looking forward to it a little bit more now because I have finally gone ahead and booked a solo trip for my birthday. So as I mentioned, last year I went to Milan and it was beautiful. I had the most amazing time. So I suppose in some way I'm trying to not recreate it because I don't want to place the same expectations on it, but I do want to kind of find that feeling again where I'm being in an entirely new city that I've never visited before, and I'm again creating this gorgeous opportunity for myself because, like I said, no one else can make this birthday special for me apart from me. So yeah, I'm going to make this birthday special for myself. So I'm going to Prague. I will document it as best as I can. I've got a few lovely things planned. So yeah, I'm feeling a bit better about this birthday. I'm feeling a bit more excited about it. But I suppose there's still these underlying feelings. So I thought, yeah, maybe talking about direction a little bit in this cacao ceremony. And it turns out a lot of people were also resonating with it as well, also needing some direction and needing a nudge in a particular direction, or just needing some kind of answer. And I think for me especially, I was like, can the universe just throw me a bone a little bit? Just give me something that I'm either on the right path or doing the right thing, or yeah, just something along those lines. Just give me a bone. Like, please, the universe, can you just give your gal a little pat on the back or something? That would be lovely. So anyway, we settle into this cacao ceremony and everyone shares what they're hoping for. And there's always a card pull within the ceremony. You do 2 card pulls. You do one at the beginning and then one at the end. And the one at the beginning is kind of to hopefully settle in with your intention for the ceremony. And then your second card pull at the end of the ceremony is kind of then, okay, how are we going to move forwards? How are we going to take this with us? You know what I mean? So, my first card pull, I pulled out this card, and I always go for the card that's like, whenever Rebecca does like the spread of cards, I always go for the cards that are a bit hidden. I don't know why, I'm always drawn to the ones that are tucked away that would probably go a bit unnoticed. So I picked this card, and it simply says, aloneness. So I was like, okay, right. Am I just meant to be alone for the entirety of my life? Sure, fantastic, fabulous. And then also, like, the day before this ceremony, I tried to, well, I succeeded. I forced myself back onto the dating scene, and I went on this day, and I had a bit of a existential crisis before the date, which I shared to the close friends on social media. If you're not on close friends, and if you want to be on close friends, just let me know. It's a wonderful unhinged time over there. But I had this full crash out before going on this date where nothing was feeling good on my body. I didn't like the way I looked. And then I felt like I was almost having to put on this show for this date for this lovely, kind man who has come all the way up from London to see me, to meet me. And it just, yeah, I was crashing out. And you guys know, I've been hesitating over the dating scene for a long time. Do I want to be dating? Do I not want to be dating? And I felt like I kind of needed to get out of my own way a little bit. So that's why I went on the date. But then to go on this date and have this crash out, right, the day before, and then the next day receive this card saying aloneness, it's like, that's not the kind of bone I was hoping for, universe. I was hoping for a little bit more encouragement. But framing is key. Okay, so when I shared with Rebecca, because she does a little reading for each and every one of us, depending on the card that you've pulled. So I shared that I've picked aloneness. She was like, okay, cool, does it make sense? And I was like, I'm interested to see how you're going to frame this in a positive way for me. But what she said, so on the card it's the monk, and it's his own light leading the path ahead. And as soon as she said that, I was kind of like, okay. So I just need to trust that my own light will show the path ahead. Okay, that feels better rather than just me being alone. So I think it was maybe just a reminder to trust in my own light and, you know, keep taking these steps forward and just trusting that as long as I'm connected to my light and I don't allow anything to dim my light, I will know the pathway through. I will know the way forwards. Hopefully. We can but try, we can but keep our fingers crossed, you know what I mean? And then Rebecca kind of went on into this spiel, like, you know, we enter into this world alone, right? And we are going to leave this world alone. And that was kind of depressing, but actually it is right. You enter this world alone, you will leave this world alone. You can't take people with you wherever it is you're going. Some people might join you for a little part of the journey, but for the most part, it is just you. It is just me. I don't know, I've been really feeling like that this past year. I'm like, it is just me. You know, so honouring that and owning that it's just me, so I'm going to show it for myself. But I think in this recent step back into the dating scene, I was kind of hoping to maybe start finding someone who could travel with me. I'm not saying I'm going to find the one, but, you know, just maybe open myself back up to that. Like I said, I've been getting in my own way a lot recently, so I thought maybe this could help me take those next few steps forwards. But this card, I don't know, it's confused me, to say the least. Am I meant to be alone forever? Maybe. After you've had the card pull, after you've shared your intentions, that's when everyone sips the cacao and then you come to lie down, and then Rebecca will take you through that extended guided meditation, okay? And it's a very, like, visual. It really allows you to really tap into your imagination and create this scene unfolding within your own mind and just let it unfold. And as soon as I lie down in this relaxation, I felt like that pull of gravity was so strong. I can usually be quite fidgety because obviously I'm still facilitating. I'm still also co-host, so I'm just making sure everyone else is comfortable. I'm always the last person to lie down. Just to again check everything's okay with the space, and then only at that point will I then lie down. And as I said, I'm usually quite fidgety. I don't really kind of drop into it straight away, but this time I felt that real pull of gravity. I sunk into this cozy little bed that I'd created for myself. I was so cozy. These images come through to my mind and create this scene in front of me. And it almost like every message that dropped in was almost like, it felt like a jolt through my body. It's like almost jolting me awake, and it's like just jolting me back in each moment. I've not had that before. I've done no end of ceremonies now, but everyone is different. And yeah, I've never felt that relaxed in ceremony before, but also not really felt those jolts before. It was interesting. And one of those jolts were, like, it was almost like there was a conversation happening in my head that I was half present with, and then I just suddenly heard myself say, "I'm never lost." And I heard those words and I was like, did I imagine that? Did I just say that? Did I just say that to myself? I'm never lost. Okay. And obviously I've been asking for direction, right? So, and I pulled that card, aloneness, the monk's own light leading the way. I'm never lost. You see how these things are kind of connecting the dots a little bit? You see how these things are coming together? So I'm like, right, okay. And then also in this meditation, Rebecca invites you to meet your spirit animal, your spirit guide. It might come to you in different forms, but more often than not for me, it comes to me in the form of an animal. And I kind of imagined like I was paddleboarding, and I don't know whether it's because on the day I went on the day before, we walked down the river, which is a particular spot where I typically paddleboard down. So I don't know whether that was just kind of lingering in my head a little bit. So in this journey I was being taken on, I was on the paddleboard, and you guys know I love doing my solo paddleboarding dates. So again, the theme of being alone kept cropping up. And whenever I do go paddleboarding, there's always this particular heron that is on the riverbank. You can never really get too close to him. He'll always like fly off, but it always feels like as he flies off, it's like he's leading the way. So I'll paddle a little bit further down the river, I'll come across him again. He'll fly off, he'll lead the way again. So it's always that kind of repetitive finding him, following him, finding him, following him. Do you get what I mean? However, the last time I went paddleboarding, I got so close to him. If I stretched my arm out, I probably could have, stroked him, touched him. And I was like, this is weird. But anyway, that happened months ago. I kind of forgotten about it. But anyway, in this meditation, the heron comes back to me as my spirit animal, as my spirit guide. By the way, if you're listening to this and you're not spiritual in the slightest, you're probably like, this gal is smoking something. I promise you I'm not. I think I just have a very, very vivid imagination. I don't know. But anyway, this heron was there, and I was like, okay, the heron's leading the way again. All right, cool. And also, cut to, right? So when I'm sharing my experience at the end of this meditation, and I'm speaking to everyone, there is this heron, and I explained the story about the paddleboard and everything. One of the lovely ladies there, Donna, she's like, Lauren, there's a heron outside? And I'm like, what? And by the lake, just stood there, outside the window, is a heron. And I'm like, what in the universe is happening now? I stare at this heron. I'm like, you've got to be shitting me. Surely not. So that felt like a really potent moment. Again, it was like another jolt. It was like another something. I don't know what any of this means, but it was something, okay? So, but again, back in this meditative state I was in, it was like this conversation I was having with myself, but it was almost like I was hearing myself for the first time. And if you've been to a class with me before, you might have heard me say the phrase, you can do no wrong. As long as you're exploring from this place of intuition, you feel grounded and you're letting yourself explore, you're diving into that curiosity, that playful curiosity, really you can do no wrong, because you know ultimately what's best for you, and no one else can experience this in the same way you do. No one else knows your body in the same way you do. So as long as you're coming from that foundation, you can do no wrong. And again, I heard that phrase in my head and I was like, it's like I was hearing my own words for the first time. I was like, oh, you can do no wrong. So, again, think of the things we've had so far. We've had the card of aloneness, the monk's own light leading the way through. And I'm looking for direction. So, that itself is maybe a little sign to trust in my own light. As long as I keep following my own light, then I can do no wrong. Thinking back to this now, I'm kind of like, what the hell? Was I smoking something? And when also we'd seen the heron outside, Bex was saying, the heron is a symbol of patience. He is the seer. He oversees everything and just patiently waits for his moment. It's very stoic. And I was like, okay. We get to the final card pull. And I go for the card that's like hidden beneath all the others. And I pick it out and I look at it. And it says, nothingness. The first card I pull is aloneness. The final card I pull is nothingness. So I'm meant to be alone and have nothing in this world. Is that the bone the universe is going to throw me today? Is that the message I'm meant to hear? I don't understand it. And also the fact that I was in this meditation, I was paddleboarding and I paddleboarded past the marina where all the boats are, and lots of I nearly bought a houseboat, and that's still a thought that's lingering in the back of my mind. So it's like, am I meant to sell everything, pack it all up and just live on a boat? What is happening? What is happening? I asked for more direction, and I feel like I'm more confused. I don't know. The more I think about this, the more I could be terrified. I'm meant to be alone and have no things. Okay, lovely. Sure. So, in reflection on this cacao ceremony and how I'm going to move forwards from here, or how I'm going to take that with me, I think there's a few things that I'm going to hold on to as best as I can. You know, the thought that my own light will lead the way through, that feels quite comforting. That kind of like feels nice and warm and fuzzy in my heart. And the idea that I can do no wrong. As long as I'm following my own light, I can do no wrong. And it's also always so beautiful listening to everyone else's findings in the meditation, because they're always so different, because, you know, lots of us go to these things for different reasons, but you can always take something from another person's findings. So even if you didn't have like a potent experience, there might be something you can take from someone else. Like there was another gorgeous gal who finally feels the courage to reach for her dream, you know. There was another person who she's like, you know, this was a reminder of my strength. I can be strong. I can put my big girl pants on, and I can be that strong woman that I am, you know. I can demonstrate that strength. And there's a gorgeous girl next to me who's lost her mum, and she had a gorgeous visit from her mum. And I think we all felt in that moment that, like, how gorgeous is that? How lovely is that? You know, she said at the beginning that in her first ceremony, she felt like her mum was there. And while she's not putting any expectation on this next ceremony that her mum will be there, she's kind of, you know, it would be nice, you know. So when she said that her mum was there, it's almost like we were all so happy for her and so relieved for her, and it was beautiful. There's always so much you can take from these ceremonies, whether it resonates in the moment or whether it kind of trickles in after the following days. Honestly, if you can get to a cacao ceremony, Huns, I really recommend them. They always come through for me at the right time, even though I'm not entirely sure what my intention is in that moment. There's always something to be taken from it. So if you are interested in mine and Rebecca's cacao ceremonies, we floated the 11th of January 2026 around as a potential next date. So come along, and if you do want to come along and we've not released the date yet, just let me know, because I will put together a lovely little wait list and you will be the first to know when those tickets go live. As always, there will be a limited supply of Keen Bean tickets available. So yeah, until next time, I suppose I'm just going to continue floating with the idea of aloneness and nothingness. Am I destined to be alone and have nothing forever? Surely that's not the case. Surely not. Surely that's not what the universe is trying to deliver to me right now. No. Okay. Trust in your own light. That's what I'm going to hold on to. That's what I'm also going to invite you guys to hold on to. Trust in your own light. Is anyone else feeling like they need some direction? You know, is anyone else feeling somewhat lost or maybe a bit untethered? You know what I mean? And you're just trying to find the right place to land, trying to find the right place to find your footing, to set your feet, to set roots, to plant seeds. I don't know, maybe it's this time of year. Like, again, we've just moved through the harvest season. We're reaping what we've sown. We're harvesting or the growth over the spring, over the summer, you know what I mean? And now it's coming into this autumn, this wintry hibernation, where it's just letting the soil rest, letting everything land. But it's finding that place to land, I guess. Yeah, maybe that's it. Is anyone else feeling this way, where you're just not sure where you're landing right now? And we're not fully in winter yet. We're not fully in that hibernation mode. So maybe autumn this year is kind of like, where is it that's going to feel like that safe place to land, to rest, ready to then plant those new seeds in spring. Yeah, maybe that's why this need for direction is coming about right now. We're all looking for that safe place, maybe. I mean, I could be talking out my ass right now. This might not be landing for anyone, but yeah, I'm curious. If you are feeling untethered, if you're looking for direction, if you feel like you are struggling to find that place to land, let me know. Let's have a bit of a conversation. But obviously, I don't want to leave this episode on this uncertain note. So what I invite you to take with you is, you are never lost, okay? Or even if you feel like you're lost a little bit right now, it will only be a short while until you find yourself again. That is one thing that is inevitable. You will always find yourself again. That's one thing that you can count on. And to trust in your own light, and that it will light up the path ahead. And as long as you're doing exactly that, you can do no wrong. And whether it is you're finally cultivating that courage to reach for a particular dream, or you're tapping into that place of strength, or whether you're after some reassurance, some reminder, follow your own light, and with that you can do no wrong. Interesting. I'm going to do my best to not to not become a hermit and sell all my things in the pursuit of this aloneness and nothingness. I'm going to frame it as that in the best way I can. Yeah, whilst I might be on this solo independent journey currently, there will be some people who will be willing to join me for the ride. I hope this left you with some food for thought, honeys. As always, let me know if you have any questions about cacao, about ceremony, and trust that whatever direction we're being drawn in, trust that it's the right one. All right, honeys, I'm going to leave this one here. Thank you so much for listening. As always, don't forget to rate, review, like, and subscribe, all that lovely stuff. And I will see you next week for another episode where hopefully we'll have a bit more direction. And maybe the universe will give me a bit more clarification. We'll see. We can only hope. All right, honeys, I love you. Take care, and I shall see you next time. Mwah. Alright, stunners, thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Butterfly Effect podcast. I hope it has left you feeling suitably inspired. And as always, please don't forget to rate and review, like and subscribe, all those lovely things, as not only does this help the podcast grow, but it also helps us to reach more beautiful souls who need to hear these conversations. And of course, come hang out with me over on Instagram and TikTok at LaurenAmyYD, and follow the pod at butterflyeffect.pod. You can also dive deeper into yoga, meditations, poetry, and so much more with me over on Patreon. Until next time, keep living a soft life loudly, because you know you deserve it, and I'll see you in the next episode. Mwah!